Hello and welcome to Foundations of Business, Chapter 1, Developing Business Mindsets. Before we start, in the prologue, there's a step-by-step process of creating a LinkedIn profile. I believe there's 9 steps. I'd highly encourage you to do that. The longer that you've had a LinkedIn account, which people can see when you established it, the more credible you are. That's the first thing that many employers uh, go, as well as banks, if you want to start your own business, go and look at to see exactly your process, what you comparing your resume to your LinkedIn account and seeing if they go together, if they match. And also, it's a way to develop a network. I think I'm close to 6,000 connections right now. So the most I think you can have is 30 or 35,000. So I'm a long way from that. But it's not that you have to have a lot of connections. It's just that it helps. And if you monitor the connections, just don't accept anybody that wants to connect with you. If you have a specific area that you want to go into, say marketing, then you would try and get to have connections with people that are in marketing already. And those connections may help you in the future. It's also good to stay connected. You get alerts of when their birthday is, when they changed jobs, when they got promoted, and just compliment them or give them a congratulations when those things happen. And it helps build that relationship, that network. Okay, so for chapter 1, developing a business mindset, which I just gave you an example of with LinkedIn, um, it's a whirlwind tour of business world where you get in this course, starting with some quick overviews. This whole course is basically a quick overview compared to the in-depth courses that you'll get later on. Also, I keep these videos short, brief, uh, but you are responsible for all of the information that's on there, which is a recap of the information that's in the chapter. So there are 46 slides. We will not go over all 46 slides, but you'll be responsible for the information that's contained in the 46 slides, which again duplicates the information that's in the chapter. Okay, so these are your learning objectives. Let's start with this one. Explain the concepts of adding value in a business. 4 useful ways to categorize businesses. That's one of the things that you should learn from this chapter. Another one is 3 steps you can take to help make the leap from consumer to business professional. All of us are consumers, and now you're in college to hopefully convert over to a business professional in conjunction with being a consumer. Discuss 5 major environments in which every business operates. So these are things that you may see on a test. Which one is not which one is not one of the 5 major environments in which every business operates? That would be a good test question. Okay. Explain the purpose of the 6 major functional areas in business enterprises. And go on to the next one. We'll go on. There we go. I don't know how to make this smaller. Summarize 7 most important business professions. Identify 6 components of professionalism. Describe concepts of disruptive innovation and digital transformation. Identify 7 essential business skills that you will have opportunity to develop during this course. And all that is information that you should be able to answer when you're done with the chapter 1, and all of those would be viable test questions. So if we go down to the next one, let's look at this. Adding value to satisfy customers. Customers are not going to pay for something where there's no value. And so I keep moving this, but I want to get it out of the way of the slide. Okay, so the only reason that you can increase the price is to add value. So the farmer buys land to grow crops, then buys seed and fertilizer, and converts the soil, seed, and time into wheat. You plow the field, you plant the seed, you put the fertilizer, you water it, you harvest it, and now you just converted it into wheat. So you would want to sell that wheat for a profit. So you want to sell it for more than it costs you to convert it from seeds and fertilizer and water and time to wheat. Then they sell it to a flour mill, let's say, and convert wheat to flour. So that's their added value. Then the flour mill sells the flour to a bakery. The bakery converts the flour and eggs and all the other ingredients in bread, depending on what kind of bread they're making, um, into converts it all into bread, and then they sell it to a grocery store. And the grocery store makes it convenient for consumers to purchase bread. You don't have to go to a bakery and a butcher and farmers for their vegetables and things. You can go to one store and pick it up. When I was growing up in Pennsylvania, we did that every Friday. We would go to the butcher. We would go to the farmers market to meet the farmers and buy their vegetables and fruits. And we would go to the bakery and we would buy our bread. And so we would do that. And then anything that we couldn't get by going to those, we would go to the grocery store, because the grocery stores back then were very limited in what they carried. And we bought the remainder of the groceries at the grocery store. But today, with the super Walmarts and super Targets and super HEBs and all those, you don't need to do all that. You can get it right there. Okay, next. Adding value, revenue. Revenue is the money that's brought in from the sale of goods or services. Okay, um, so it's the total dollars. So when you pay $3 for a loaf of bread, the revenue is the $3. That's not the profit. That's the revenue. Okay? The profit is the $3 minus the money it costs to buy the bread. That's your gross profit, and then you take all your other expenses out of that. Then the business model, concise description of how business intends to generate revenue. So if you don't generate revenue, you can never generate profits. And that's what I just went over. Okay. Competitive advantage, some aspect of a product or company that makes it more appealing to its target customers. Okay. So you just went through a process of choosing which college to go to. Each college has a competitive advantage over the others. Uh, so I don't know if that competitive advantage is why you chose ECU. Um, it could be just the location. Many people choose colleges based on the location. Many choose colleges based on their football team. Uh, some choose colleges based on their specialization, and they may be very good at what the student wants to learn to then have a career in that field. It all depends on what your competitive advantage is. Um, Identify major types of businesses. Nonprofit, not-for-profit, or organizations where all the profits that are generated are then put back into the organization. It isn't considered a business because they never actually take the profits out and give them to the investors or give them to the people that are running it. You get a salary, you may even get a bonus, but you don't get the actual profits at the end of the year that the organization created. Those go back into the business. And the board of directors of a not-for-profit are volunteers. They're not paid for what they do. Goods producing businesses comprise that create value. That's what we just went over with the farmer to the baker to the grocery store. Service businesses, companies that create value by performing activities to deliver some benefit to customers. Hair salons are a great example of a service business. Risk, reward, and moral hazard. So companies make a decision that involves some risk for the outcome. It may not turn out the way they want. And then if the outcome is positive, the company maps the reward, they get profits. If it is negative, then it suffers the consequences. For example, Chesapeake Energy, they just declared bankruptcy. They took a lot of risks, and unfortunately for them, the price of natural gas has been around $2 per million BTUs, and that is not near enough to make a profit. And so they couldn't generate enough revenue to create enough profit to pay the bills. So they declared bankruptcy. Moral hazard, link between reward The link between risk and reward is broken. A company makes a decision that involves some risk. If the outcome is positive, company reaps rewards. If outcome is negative, someone else, including other companies, consumers, or taxpayers, suffers the consequences. Okay? If you go back to 2008, the crash 2008, and the bailout of the banks, that's a great example of moral hazard. The taxpayers took the responsibility for all the bad investments that the banks made. Um, Goods producing businesses, often capital intensive businesses, and then service business tends to be labor intensive businesses. You don't have a whole lot of capital investment in a hair salon or a nail salon, but you do have a lot of capital investment in Tesla building electric cars. Let's look at some of these charts before we end this lecture. Business mindset, consumer perspective, which product will meet my needs, management's perspective, what products should we make, how should we make them, can we make them ourselves, are there any safety issues. Then go down to the marketing, how can I learn more about the product, how can we reach potential buyers, what should we say, how can we rise above the noise, and do we need our own sales force? And then image, will it make how will it make me feel about myself? Okay, what is our brand image? Okay, do we need change to improve it? Do we need more one brand? How do we protect our brand? And so, uh, brand image. If you look at cars, what's the image of a Porsche, Mercedes, BMW versus a Kia or a Chevy or uh, even Hyundai. I mean, they're different cars, different price points, and different images. You maybe say, well, this Hyundai is the same price as a Mercedes. And there are Mercedes and Hyundais that are the same price, but the image is completely different. Okay? If you want to get some grasp to that, just make the suggestion that someone buys a minivan and see what the response is. And usually that image is not the one that most people want, which is why minivans are not going to be around much longer. In the business mindset, with price, can I afford it? Then it goes to how much will it cost to produce, what price market accepts. You should price the product, which is a good or a service, for the most that the market will bear, which means that you can sell all that you make or all that you can do uh, without losing any money. So if you're a hair salon hairstylist, you can only work so many hours in a day. So if you charge $20 a haircut and you only get 4 hours a day booked, then you're losing 4 hours a day if you want to work an 8 hour day. Um, Income. If you charge $15 and now you can book for 8 hours, then even though you're getting $5 less per haircut, you're able to book for the entire 8 hours, which means your revenue is much larger. So that would be the price point that you would want, because then you can maximize your time with revenue. Okay? Availability and then service. And that concludes chapter 1. Again, you are responsible for all of the slides, um, but time only allows me to go over a few of them. Okay? If you have any questions, please let me know.